Right, this is part 3 of the combative strength training programs that we've been looking at. Just routine ideas. This one implementing just, all of these 3 implementing just bands. So we looked at posterior chain, anterior chain, and now we're going to look at the squat plane. So by posterior chain I mean we looked at pulling on a pull plane, horizontal and vertical. We looked at anterior chain, pushing, conversely, horizontal and vertical. The other plane of movement that we need to concern ourselves with is the hinge and the squat. So the hinge we covered in a posterior chain when we looked at pulling with a deadlift. Not dissimilar to what you're going to do now, but the focus is on the squat, so the quads. Going to use bands, just body weight, and I like to hold the weight. So for me the med ball's good, but anything you can hold to give resistance if you're doing any type of jumping squat will work. So the key areas that you've got to focus on are the anterior chain, posterior chain. So push and pull plane movement, as well as hinge coming off the hips and squat coming off the, using it implementing the thigh structure. Right. In addition to that, you want rotational movement. Because that's how we want to work the core best. And then you supplement that with some neck training and some grip strength, which is all good for combatives. Right. So squat plane is what we're looking at. What you're going to need is bands. So like I said before, you can get them in a flat continuous loop, or you can get them in tubular continuous forms. This is Pat McNamara's plan, Get You Some, really good, but not essential you get those. Tubular or flat, ideally looped. Right, if you're going to squat, you're going to be able to use the best, thickest band of all, probably, because using your largest structure, using your thighs, hips and back. So if you've got a big band like that, you can use that. If not, then use the next size down, maybe add one to it, thin one, or an accumulation of several smaller bands, whatever works best for you. If all you've got is thin bands, then just use as many as you need to get the resistance that you want. Now, putting the thing on. So if you, when we deadlift, we stand in the centre of the band and we hold the handles. So, and we get set position where that back is flat, and then we pull like so. So this is now more of a hinge motion where the focus is on pulling with the hips, less so than squatting with the thighs. Conversely, the squat is more implementation of the thighs into the really glutes, but it doesn't work well holding it like that. So you're going to have to put your feet in, keep about hip width. You can go somewhat wider if you want. Wider you go, create more resistance on the band. If you still feel you're in the right position and the band is a bit loose, then add another band or try and take up some of the slack. You're going to put over your head, get that set squat position as if you're at a bar. Fold your arms across your chest, put them where you like. From here, all you're going to take is 5 seconds down. Then you explode up. 5 seconds down. Explode up. Just go for 7 reps. And on the last one, I just want you to pulse. Find a midpoint, just pulse. 7 reps. And then hold. Isometrically again, 7 reps. It's the magic number. And rest. So, explosive up, 5 seconds down for 7 reps. Then find a halfway point, pulse for 7, and then hold isometrically still for 7. I'm going to do 3 total cycles. This is the first exercise. Okay, next exercise, focusing primarily on plyometric part. So you take a lunge, Position, switch explosively. Set position. 7 reps, left and right. Shake it out. You just take the lunge position. You should find that point, just pulse slowly. And the 7th, just hold. 7. Switch it. Find that lunge point, pulse. 3, 4, and hold. Start to cook your thighs pretty good. Before you move on to the next exercise, just take the toe, switch your quadricep, push your hip forward, pull back, some blood to the area. Stretch, pull the hip in, pull the foot back, lean back, continue to work your balance. That last one in the complex, just take your weight, 5, 10 kilos, whatever. And squat, explosively jump, a couple of inches off the floor, land soft straight into the next rep. To that last position, pulse. And then just hold. You want to break parallel if you can, your flexibility will allow. Right, so if that's cycle way for this WOD, then you do those exercises back to back. So you would go banded squat, explosive 5 seconds down, straight into isometric pulses at the halfway position, then isometric contraction. That's one set of that exercise. Then you move straight on, you've got to shake it out to the lunge split jump, which are somewhat explosively. Keep the fibres firing now after you switch them on. And then you would hold that low lunge up position and pulse it. So when I say pulse it, you're just going a little quarter movement, and you're just going below and above the parallel line, or as low as you're going to work. So you don't work until the tension comes off, you work in the tension. 7 pulses. Then isometric hold. Then out. From there, stretch the quadriceps out, stretch the hips out, and then finally go to your jump squat. Right. You would do 3 cycles of that. When you've done that, I would suggest that you go and work auxiliary work. So you will work core, rotation, as we'll see, and neck work, and also some grip. If you're short for time, you could just do the squat workout and pick up that grip, neck and core, another workout, or you can integrate it. Work in one plane here, just working the squat plane, switching the muscle fibers on, keeping them exploding. That's all we're doing. And that's going to equate to that speed strength that you need to quickly explode off your feet, drop your weight into the target as you strike. All comes from there. All striking and power and striking comes from your feet. You need to know how to use that kinetic chain. Right, here then, going to work transverse core. So the transverse core is the deep underlying muscles that support your spine. So they're non-visible. And they're most responsible for keeping your trunk stable, particularly if you're offloaded. So if you was carrying something heavy in this arm, maybe a suitcase deadlift or a single arm farmer's walk, for example, of a significant weight, if you had the musculature that requires you to stay tall so that you don't pull over, are the opposite side to what you're working. So this transverse core structure here is getting isometrically contracted with relatively little movement. So for stability, transfer core is essential. It's also essential for rotational power. So rotational power coming around so that I can transfer weight and put impact into the target, left and right. All of that comes from the core. Core's the transmission. So yeah. All power and striking, the kinetic chain starts at your feet, works through the synergistically through the joints of your ankles, knees till it gets to your hips, and then it's your core transfer that's then putting the rest of the body into the exercise. Whether that is throwing something, whether that's a racket sport, whether that's impacting somebody as you hit them, all comes from this transverse core and rotational movement. Yeah, so rectus abdominis, the six-pack, has the function of pulling the pelvis to the sternum. That's it. So crunches will create that need. But you think about how often you use that in daily life. You use it once when you get up in the morning, get out of your bed to lean forward. Maybe when you get up out of a chair, but you're not using that specifically. That's the showy part. But what you are using are the parts you can't see, and that's for stability. Constantly maintaining stability in your body frame all day, and rotation. So for this one, I'm just going to use a band and an anchor point. Now you could just put your hands through the band. You could use a towel, something to make it a bit more comfortable. But I like to use just a bit of pipe, PVC pipe, and any stick structure that's solid will do. Fore and aft into here, right? So what I'm going to do is pull back, get the tension, keeping my feet. I'm just going to rotate to the one side, then I'm going to rotate to the other side. Yeah. Now I can do that for reps, I can do it for holds, or I can do it for a mixture of both. Right. So what I'm going to do, left and right counts as one. So I'm going to go one. And when I get 7, find the point, I'm going to pulse. I'm going to hold. I'm going to rotate. Pulse. Hold. So 7. If you find the band strength that you've got allows you to do more reps than that, then add resistance, add a band. Keep those reps about that range. Step back somewhat so there's more tension. You should be by 7, you should be closing to the point where you could do maybe 2 more, that's it. And that's where you're taking the isometrics and the pulses. So core rotation is your first exercise. So another good core rotational motion is band punch, band strikes, time specific to how you throw a strike. So put the bands to an anchor point. If you're going to do 3 cycles as you are, then you're going to do moderate to hard. That's the way I would recommend it. So from here, I want to walk out, get the position, so there's tension straight away. And I'm going to rotate my foot, which turns my knee, which fires my hip and drives my core. And as I push off this foot, my weight sort of goes forward. This allows a slight recoil on the shoulder, and as the hip whips in, the weapon goes straight to the target. And obviously that happens very explosively and very quickly, so you might not get a feel of it. But doing it with a band, and consciously first of all, doing it so that you can feel every part of that. Isometrically contracting tight, pushing off this back foot, good core rotation, back, about 7 reps again. Again, if it's too easy, shuffle forward. If it's more difficult, shuffle back. To change the resistance. Then you're going to go explosively as you throw it. Really throw your body into it. hold the last one, and then relax. Repeat the other side, counts as one cycle. And do 3. So, cycle A, 1, 2 and 3 will be band squat, split lunge, jump squat. Then exercise B, focusing on rotational plane, will be the band turns, and the punches would be the next exercise. I'll map it all out for you. I would do the leg work for 3, then the core work, or just treat it as one thing. So you would go first squat exercise, second squat plane exercise, third squat plane exercise, to the first rotational core exercise, to the second rotational core exercise. So at 5 exercises you've gone back to back to back to back to back, and then repeat. And of course you're striving to make your last rotation circuit round the hardest. That should be hard. I want you to almost approach anaerobic threshold. So anaerobic threshold is you've got one more in you and then it's you're done. Don't want you to go to that. Get close. That's the idea. Short, sharp. Hammer those muscle fibres. Cut in them explosive fibres. Get that neurology cut in. Short, sharp shock. So working good pace this way, committed. Bang your tunes in. Get through that quick. You'll feel like you've done something. Finally, I would work your neck. So again, you can, if you think about working the neck from off the hinge, keeping straight and stable, bringing the chin to the chest, and conversely, bringing the head back. So now I'm working this frontal flexor sternocleidomastoid, and I'm working that extensor back muscles supporting my cervical vertebrae. Of course, whenever you're working your neck, be careful. You can also do lateral side bends. So initial way, manual resistance, take your hands and just push forward, resist back, push forward, resist back. Now you can resist up to nearly 40% on the negative part, which in this case is your head going back, and you can on the concentric part, which is coming forward. So remember, you're your own coach here. You should make it difficult but doable, okay? And don't make it easy. So that would be an idea. So back of my hands to the back of my head here. I'm just going to resist. Keep my back straight. I don't want to round in. I'll keep straight and just push that resistance back. Feel it. Push on it. Downward and back and downward. So as I'm coming back forward, in this case, this is the negative part of the contraction. I'm just increasing the pressure somewhat. So I'll do 7 frontal, 7 back. Yeah. And I'll go side on, keeping my hand here, keep my ear to my shoulder, push and resist, push and resist, push and resist, and then same the other side. So I'm pushing against this, pushing, resisting, pushing back, resisting. I'm trying to use the lateral part of my neck. I am actually crunching up my core here. So yeah, that would take place because of the stability, but all good. Now, you can do just a full repetitions like that, or you can do what we did before. So using the format here, if I've just done 7 repetitions, I might now pulse, and then isometrically hold for 7. So if I choose to do the front, I would do 7 full repetitions, 7 pulses, isometrically hold for 7. Loosen the neck up before, during and after. And then from there, if I was going to do the rear of the neck, I'll repeat the same sequence, 7 repetitions. So find the midpoint where it's most difficult and pulse that for 7, and then isometrically hold. Again, loosen it up, shake it out. Get everything nice and flowing, get the blood going. And then I would work lateral. Again, full repetitions here with enough resistance. Pulses in the midway point and an isometric contraction. Work the front, work the back, work the left, work the right. work your neck. You need neck stability. Neck stability will make you more resistant to getting choked, not nowhere near completely, but give you some armour. Person knows what they're doing, you're getting choked anyway, but give you some resistance to get manhandled, put in a headlock, whatever. And also some stability if you get a punch, particularly if you see the punch and you ride it, your neck muscles lock up and stop your head suddenly. And your brain floating in fluid continues and crashes into the brain, the inner brain wall. So that's how you get a brain shake. And a strong neck can allow you to limit it to a degree. Won't stop you getting knocked out necessarily, but can help. And a strong neck, column-like neck, is visually imposing. So there's lots of reasons to train your neck. Next will be grip. So also with your neck work, you could use a band, wrap a towel around the band, place the towel out, move to the position that you want to be. It works in all directions, but manual resistance works just as well. I'd start with that first before you start looking at any other type of neck exercise. Outside of that, you want to be working the grip. So simplest way to work the grip is just hold on to a rope. Now it doesn't need to be a rope, it could be a thick towel over a chinning bar. Now you can just hang for time. Hanging's really good anyway. Stretch out your scapula and your thoracic, loosen out your spine. Hanging is definitely recommended just to get that decompression in everything. But from this point of view, you would rotate your scapula back so that your shoulders stayed stacked or locked down. So rather than allowing my arms to come up here, which would be a passive hang, I will pull them down and lock my shoulders down and my traps down. So now it becomes an active hang. That's how you want to hang when you're holding on for grip. Actually, all you want to do is hang for time. You can also put your feet out in an L sit if you want, just to add some work to the abdominals. But working a cross grip, just by hanging on to something thick, like a rope. You can also put a towel around a kettlebell, a heavy dumbbell, work grip this way, pass it from one hand to the other, etc. But work your grip, give it a look in. Most grip strength comes from your thumbs. So you want something that allows you to pinch grip. So you've got some smooth plates, pinch grip. If you make a block of wood, put an eye in it, attach it to a waist stack, just pinch grip. And your thumb makes up the majority. But the core ingredients that you want for speed, strength, for combatives, for a fight dynamic, for violence, for 10-second all-out tear-up. You want speed strength, and the best way to develop that is complex training, as we said. So you want to be switching on the muscle fibres, get the energy light, let's say in light bulb all switched on to its capacity, and then from there hit the explosive fibres, turn on the stadium floodlight to keep them firing, and that will cut the neural pathway for maximal recruitment of your immediacy muscle fibres, your type 2B explosive fibres. Gives you that recruitment or connection to them that you can call from nothing. Whereas of course if you don't work it, it's dormant, and that's the difference. Like I said, get caught in a situation from cold and you only give it 60%, because that's, because you were tired, that's all you could switch on as quickly as you could. Whereas if you train this way, you'll regularly switch on 90%, and now 30% is the difference that makes the fucking difference, right? So speed, strength type of training, combining complex training of standard movement plane exercise under resistance, then a similar movement plane exercise plyometrically to keep the fibres exploding. That's what you're doing. Work that on a posterior chain, anterior chain, hinge and squat, as well as a rotational plane of movement, and then supplement it with your neck and your grip, and you'll be as fit to fight as you're going to be.